so much for joining us, and we are really looking forward to hear about what the initiatives are Standard Chartered are doing on sustainability and climate change. So we know that finance is one of the top 6 major industries that drive change, and we see that Standard Chartered is making waves on the front by being more conscious as a business, but also consciously growing our conscious industries through the business practices. Can you tell us a little bit more about your latest campaign, Investing in the Future, in the context of Africa?
Sure. Thanks, Cheryl, and thanks for having me on. I think if you just take a step back, Standard Chartered, has been operating in emerging markets for 150 years plus, Asia, Africa, Middle East. We've all seen and believe that the impact of adverse climate and the impact it's having on the markets we call home. I mean, we're an Asian, African, and Middle East focused bank, and we can see it in our clients' businesses, in the communities in which we operate, and everybody's impacted. So doing nothing is not an option for us. And we also believe that commerce and prosperity can go hand in hand with supporting things like being a good corporate citizen, helping the planet, and doing a just transition, and sort of bringing people along during such a transition. So I think that's a key starting point for the bank. What are we here for? What do we stand for? And that's our bold stance. We want to accelerate zero. We want to lift participation. And how are we doing this, Cheryl? The first thing is, it's very easy to go and talk about people transitioning when you ourselves are also have a carbon footprint that needs to be dealt with. So we have to lead by example as a bank. And in Kenya, for example, we've started the journey. We for example, our ATMs and our head office are all moving to solar. By and large, most of them are done. We're talking about better solid waste management. Paper usage is being measured as we bring it down on a month-on-month basis. Our buildings are LEED certified. So we've started a journey as a bank, and I think that's key to our own commitment to be net zero by 2030 in our own operations. Even though the wider target for us is to get to net zero in our financing operations by 2050, we have set an aggressive target to get to net zero by 2030 in our operations. Economic inclusion. It's very hard to talk about operating in these markets without bringing the people along and our clients along and the communities along. And part of this, what we're doing is we're talking about lifting participation in our communities, and the areas we're focusing on are people with disabilities, youth, and women-led enterprises. And some of the things we're starting to do now, Cheryl, or have started the journey and will continue to do, and I'm sort of just a few things, is, for example, our own procurement. We're working towards getting 30% of our own procurement from these sectors, so youth, women-owned businesses, and people with disabilities. So we procure and support from them. We have a Women in Tech initiative where we support a number of startups, both financially and also through providing them advice as they grow. And we have the Nairobi Marathon that we've been running for several years, and it's all about sustainable running, and it's a more sustainable program. And then if I toggle to sustainable finance, which is the core part of our business, and that's we believe that's where the business is going to grow to. So it's about two things: providing finance to companies in emerging markets, and two, it's about helping carbon-intensive industries transition. Both of these struggle to raise capital. That's what banks like us are here for. And it's also helping them understand where they start from. So setting a baseline and helping them grow. Now, we are a universal bank in Kenya, for example. So we bank multinationals all the way to small and medium enterprises. And what happens there is you have multinationals who already have a very good view of their journey towards net zero because they have global businesses and a lot of expertise. But as you go through that chain, you find a number of people, a number of businesses still need help, still need guidance. They all understand the concept of reducing your carbon footprint, but the question of how and how will I finance it and what's in it for me is always the question that comes to their mind, Cheryl. So taking a step back, what do we do? We put every single one of our clients through a ESRM metric. So we measure when we do any credit application, we review them for environmental and social risk assessment, and based on that, we may decide to lend or not lend. And when we lend, we may put in some conditions around what we expect them to be doing. But obviously, understandable, it's not going to happen overnight. We partner with our clients. Davis and Shirtliff is a common example. We partnered with them in 2020 and continue to do so. And what we're trying to do there, Cheryl, is bring in clean water, solar energy, and bundling it, and so that our clients can either buy it as part of mortgages they may buy, or just stand alone and say, how can we get a better pricing on some of these products that will help them in their own homes? And this extends to our staff as well.
That's certainly impressive. I mean, it's always easy to put it out there, but I think it's really, really like one of the most impressive things is to see that it starts inwardly and moves out. Even as dentsu, we've got to start looking at media and decarbonizing that, and how do we collaborate and partner with our clients and people, to start actually, talking the talk and walking the walk, as they say. So
absolutely.
That is super impressive. Should we move on? And I suppose touching and bringing in, you do talk a lot about stuff you're doing with youth and women, and the change of how people perceive things in the financial and banking environment. In one of our previous white papers on finance, we did find that a younger audience had a growing interest in financial options outside of traditional banks, like cryptocurrencies, for example. Do you find that offering like this can recapture the interest of younger audiences? A lot of the Gen Z people are driven by change in the world and doing good in the world. Do you think they'll respond much better to this conscious-based product offering more than older audiences? I mean, are you seeing any of those trends coming up?
Okay, Cheryl, crypto is a part of the digital transformation of financial services that's been going on, 5-7 years now, and the pace is accelerated. So as a bank that operates in these markets that have clients, not just your traditional set of clients, but some of the newer set of clients, as you've mentioned, we obviously have to anticipate the needs and respond. We're at the forefront of a lot of this innovation. Do we think digital currencies have a space in the traditional banking world, if you like? Absolutely, yes. But the pace at which we roll out those will depend on a number of factors, including your regulatory environments, supporting such issuances. But that said, we continue to innovate in this space. And when you talk about youth, Cheryl, I think there's a few things. The youth, in our view, and based on research we've seen and supported, is they care about a few things. They care about companies that share their same values, as you correctly pointed out. They also want to work for companies that share their own values. So, today talent, is hired in a specific way. In the future, attracting talent, if you are a carbon-intensive business, may be a challenge, and therefore you have to provide that environment to attract that kind of talent. And lastly, it's not just about what they buy from you, but they also will invest in you. So will they buy a bank stock if that bank is not meeting their values? I mean, so they have a buy side and a sell side contribution as well. So I think absolutely we need to continue to innovate, which Standard Chartered is doing, and cater for the needs that we see are coming already developing actually.
Yeah, being driven forward, right, to save the planet. So on that, maybe you can talk to us a little bit about the business benefits of moving towards conscious commerce. And it's actually just no longer a nice idea on the side, but becoming, like you said, a more and more core to business as usual. Looking at what people are asking for, people are becoming more conscious. I mean, has this been the biggest driving force for you?
Broadly, yes, Cheryl. But again, we don't have a business if we don't have customers. We don't have a business if we don't have staff who believe and come every day to work and do the good work that they do. And we don't have a business if the communities in which we operate don't allow us to operate because we don't share their values. So it's no longer, I don't think it's a matter of, is it an option? It's not an option. Becoming a conscious company, it has to be done. Now, I think the pandemic, that's the global pandemic, has sort of shifted priorities a little because we've seen in some of our segments, customer segments, the shift went from let's grow, let's do a lot of work around sustainability to survival mode, and that's understandable. But as we get into this new normal, those companies will start relooking at sustainability. So I think we've lost 12, 18 months in this, but we can see that debate coming back on the table, particularly in markets like Kenya, which is important. So as I said, it's no longer an option for us.
From a competitor standpoint, are products like these becoming more and more prominent? I mean, you've said it's already imperative. It's no longer a choice. It's something you have to do because that's what your consumers are asking for. But from your competitors, and in order to remain competitive, like what are we looking at coming out of Standard Charter?
Okay, so Cheryl, this is one where I believe to solve these kind of big problems, you need to partner. And whilst we will compete with other banks, with other financial institutions, I do believe there's an opportunity for us to collaborate to solve these really big issues. And this is not just about banks competing with each other, it's also partnering with your clients. So for example, we're talking to a multinational recently, and only 20% of their emissions come from their own operations, 80% is coming from their supply chain. And the question to us is, how do we help their supply chain, which might be a mixture of small and large suppliers, transition? So collaborating is absolutely key. But to answer your question on competing, yeah, I mean, we had a recent survey we did, or a recent research report we issued, which is called the Sustainable Investing Review this year. We found close to, I think it was 98% of our affluent clients have an interest in sustainable products.
Yeah.
But conversely, 93% need more knowledge, need to understand it. So I think there's a key point around getting everyone to speak a common language around sustainability, get to a common understanding, and that's a big role that we play as industry. Because yes, we compete on products, and everybody will innovate at the edges and do something unique here and there. But if we can get all our clients to speak that common language and that have that common understanding, I think there's enough business for everyone.
Yeah, and I also think it's like a general thing. There's so much information out there that has been thrown out under the sustainability banner that people become overwhelmed, and you sort of don't know which way to turn because it seems everyone's trying, like on the bandwagon, and it's just to understand. I think to understand and give people the tools to investigate it and see what works for them and how they can consciously start making that change. It's not going to happen in one fell sweep, but as like you say, as a business or as a standalone consumer or person, how are you consciously making that change, day after day? We did an internal survey with our staff just on a footprint calculator, just to see as a general person, like how many earths you're overshooting by just living the way you're living, and everyone was like, oh, this is terrible, I'm a terrible human being, don't make me do this again. But I think it's a starting point for realization on, like, this is a serious issue, and we all have to get on board. So I think you guys are doing amazing stuff. Like, well done. It's really great.
Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. And you just raised an interesting point. So even for our staff in our building, we banned the use of single-use plastics last year. Yeah, it took a while for everyone to adapt, but now it's sort of become the norm. And it's these little things that will make a difference. And people buy into that. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it takes, like we've got a section in this paper about the wonder, where we've actually gone and researched a whole lot of books and articles and podcasts that we'll include in the paper for people just to go click on. And if they're interested or they want to know more, read up about it, kind of demystify this whole big monster that seems to be appearing in front of them. And it's actually quite doable if we all just make little changes as we go along. So I think that's like really, really great.
Yeah, and Cheryl, you've raised, sorry, another interesting point is any piece of paper you pick up in this space is so full of data and jargon that if you try and explain it to a small supplier, to a large multinational, it makes no sense. So it's how do you make the material relevant? And that's the debate, we were having yesterday with some of our team on how do we partner? Is it ourselves? Is it with industry, stakeholders? But yeah, the journey is just begun.
I think collaboration in this whole environment is key. The more we collaborate, the more we talk about it, the more we share tools, I think the easier it will become.
Correct.
And more of a day-to-day, this is how it works, rather than, this seems like a huge mammoth task ahead of us. So I think you've made public commitments as a business, and that. Do you want to maybe unpack some of these or any other companies that have inspired you? I mean, I know I looked at your sustainability clearing service. There's the 50 trillion question campaign. You've got money, a force for good. I mean, all these things are coming out and they're all amazing. Is there any one particular one you just really want to unpack for us?
I think it's not so much about the initiatives, like you correctly mentioned. There's a whole host of stuff going on. But I think getting one, measuring the impact we're making, that's absolutely key, because it's okay to talk about it, but what's the impact that it's having? And we've partnered with people like Baringa to help us on this journey. On the other side, we are partnering with academia like Imperial College London, because we don't know what we don't know, and this area is so vast, as you correctly pointed out, that we need to bring in partners. But one, it helps us, but two, it also sort of pulls us back when we
because we can all get lost in the hype and not really think about
absolutely. But it also keeps correct. Yeah, it keeps us honest. Let's put it that way.
I know we had a chat with Tim Christopherson from the UN, and he was saying, everyone's throwing it out there that emission free by 2030, but what does that actually mean, in actual targets? Are there targets set? Are you hitting those targets? How are you measuring it? And I think those are the questions that people are going to start asking. The more they educate themselves and the more they become aware, I think people are going to be set to task, and big corporates and companies, to say, well, it's all very well throwing that tagline out there, but what are we seeing you doing and how are you measuring it? So I think that's going to be the next big question that we're going to be faced with.
Correct. And just on that point, as banks, we will start reporting this. Hopefully we have a common standard driven by IFRS, the EU taxonomy. So once we have common standards, you start putting it in your financial statements, you measure it in a very uniform way. There's no ambiguity around this. And then that will slowly change the narrative. I think that will be absolutely key.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big one. So I think just in closing, we've been asking everyone, what do we see coming out next over the next 10 years with the lead up to 2030 from Standard Chartered?
Look, if the way I'd answer this is, if you ask me to fast forward to 1st January or 31st December 2030, what's happening in Standard Chartered? I would say probably a few things. One is we have a robust business where we're not financing all our clients we've helped bulk of our clients transition, or are helping our clients transition, particularly the carbon intensive industries. We have a within our own operations, we've achieved or close to achieve the net zero ambition. Whether it's paper, whether it's energy usage, whether it's us flying around, very little. That would be a fantastic outcome for me. And last but not least, we're actually making a positive impact, and we can demonstrate it, empirically, that all the stuff that we're doing, whether it's paper utilization, solar, etc., is actually driving a positive impact, and our communities, our clients, and our staff can see it. I think that would be I'd rate myself 8 out of 10 then.
Yeah, I think driving it internally, is one of the biggest things, because that's, everyone making a difference, and as a collaborative, it can only do good. But I'm not sure if you have anything else to add, but thank you so much for joining us and being part of this paper. And we really look forward to collaborating and working with Standard Chartered going forward.
Thank you very much, Cheryl.
And thank you for making a difference. The world appreciates it, and the earth.
Well, Cheryl, all I'll say is we will want to partner. If you've liked what you've seen, what you've heard, please do reach out to us. We're willing to work with different people to solve some of these really big problems that really need to get solved. So thank you, Cheryl.
Great. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Lovely chatting to you.
Thank you. Bye.